So I just wanted to let you guys know what those flags mean in case you do run into them, because in this case, you know, there's several out there, and anytime there's a case like that, you'll see one of those flags. So I've got all these addresses here, but suppose there's a time when you already have a list of addresses. Per se, you've got a text file or an Excel spreadsheet that has a series of addresses, and you want to search for all of them at one time without having to actually manually enter each individual address. So in this case, I actually have a text file here, and I've got several addresses I've already put in. I can take these, I'll copy them, and using this advanced link up here at the top, I can open that, and it's going to open a box here that will allow me to actually paste those addresses. And you can use addresses or parcel IDs within this text box. So if you have a series of parcel IDs, you can enter those as well. And you don't have to copy and paste. If you just want to type them out, you can type them out in here. But this would be the way to actually search for them all at one time. So I've pasted my addresses in here. I'll hit the go button, and it's going to actually pull back all of those addresses that I just entered in. Now again, I did have these three already selected, so it did persist those records along with it. But that advanced search is a very handy tool if you do have a list of addresses that you want to search for all at one time without having to do manual entry for every single address. I'm going to go ahead and uncheck these. So I've got a list of properties. Now it's great, I can go in, I can look at their details, but what if I want to view them on the map? In this case, I'm going to just select a few properties here. And we've actually given you the ability to transfer data back and forth between the Properties tab and the Map tab within JCLR2. And it's a very nice enhancement and functionality to be able to do that. So in this case, I've selected these three properties. And if you look up above or down below, there's a map link. Clicking that map link is actually going to transfer those properties over to the Map tab and allow me to view them then within the Map tab. So now I've seen their details, and now I'm getting a chance to actually visually see where they are on the map. You can transfer data back and forth from both the Property tab to the Map tab, and then from the Map tab to the Property tab, which I'll get to once we start talking about the functionality of this Map tab. So back to the Properties tab, I'm going to actually select one property here, and I'm going to buffer it. Because if I need to create a buffer for this to do a notification or something, we've created a very easy way to do this. You select the property and go up to the buffer link either above, again, or below. It's going to open this dialog box, which by default sets the buffer to 200 feet. You can change it to anything you want. I'm going to go ahead and leave it at the default for now. In this case, I've got the property selected. I'm buffering at 200 feet. When I hit the go button, it's going to keep my original property and return all of the properties that fall within that 200-foot buffer. So in this case, now I can go through each one of these and view the details if I want, or I can just look at the list. So now I've got my list of all these properties within the buffer. What if I need to send out a mailing to notify all of these property owners that something at this address is going to be taking place? We've created the functionality to do that as well. In this case, I would go up here and do the Select All button. I can select all of my properties, and using the labels link either above or below, I'll select that. And what this link actually does is spit out an Excel file for you that's going to give you the property ID, a mailing address, ownership information that you can then very easily pop into a mail merge program, spit out your mailing labels, and boom, you're done. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. But that is a very handy tool there. So if you do need to create a mailing label or some kind of list out of a buffer, all you have to do is select those properties and use that labels link. Now to deselect any of these properties, you've got these two links up here. You can select them all. You can select none. Will clear all of your check boxes. If I want to remove one here or there, because this one doesn't really have an actual mailing address, or if there's any that I actually need to remove, I can select those individual properties and hit that remove link up at the top. There is also a print link up here, and this has been recently added. What this will actually provide, if I want to select a property or multiples, I can select more than one, so I'm going to select 3 here. When I hit this print button, what it's actually going to spit out are just basically that information tab that you saw when you go into each individual property. It's going to give you some of the very basic information in a nice little format that you can print out. So if you do need a quick printout of some of that basic information, that's a really quick and easy way to do it. A couple other things within the Properties tab before we move on. You'll notice there's a directions link up here. I've got these 3 properties selected. As long as you select more than one, you can go up here, use this directions link, and we're going to pop you out to Google directions and provide you with the driving directions between those properties. So if you are, if you're looking at JCLR and you're finding these properties and you need to send somebody out to do a visitation on it or do kind of an inspection or something, we do actually provide you with those driving directions to get them to and from those properties. And again, that's just linking you out to Google. So as long as you've used Google Maps before, it should be a pretty familiar interface. And the last thing I wanted to point out on this tab before we move on are these forward and back buttons over here on the right hand side. These work very similarly to your forward and back buttons within your browser window. It's going to take you back through the last search results that you've done, and that's anytime you've entered an address here in this search box. So in this case, if I hit this, the last one I searched for, it looked like must have been 1605. I guess probably 21420 West 64th Street. And as I keep going back through these, it's going to go back through each one that I searched and bring those back for me. So if you wanted to go back and look at previous searches that you had, you can do that. But again, that's pulling up whatever you last searched for within this individual address search box. So that's about it for the Properties tab. Like I said, this is where the meat and the potatoes are of this application, where you get all the information, all the data that's behind it. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the History tab. The History tab will be really quick. It's a pretty fast one to go through, and what it actually provides is parcel spatial history. So if you need to find splits, annexations, any kind of spatial change to a parcel, this is where it will be recorded. And we do provide you with the opportunity to search by property ID, transfer order number, or section ID. So in this case, if I want to enter a parcel ID, and again, we do provide the type aheads, select the parcel I want, hit go, and it's going to bring me back all of the recorded spatial changes that have happened with this particular parcel ID. What you get returned is a transfer order, which these links actually take you out to view the scanned transfer order document. In this case, it was an annexation from Olathe. It'll tell you what parcel ID is associated, what type of change it was, the section ID that was affected, when it was completed. You have a link here to view a map that shows you the before and after of how this spatial change actually affected the property. In this case, there really wasn't one because it was simply transferring those properties from the county to the city of Olathe. You've got a couple of notes here that are affected to the Records and Tax Administration Office, and then you also have a link to view any specials that are associated with the property. In this case, there aren't any, but if there were, you would see them here. So that's what you get when you search by property ID. You can also do the same search by transfer order and section ID. So I'll go ahead and show you an example of a section ID search. If I want to search for anything that's happened within section K13, it's going to bring me back all of those transfer orders that have been associated with that particular section. And again, you're going to get those transfer order documents. You'll get the type, the section ID obviously is the one I searched for, the completed, the map. Here, I'll show you one of these maps that actually does have a change. And in this case, expand my window just a little bit, you can see that they've split out a small section of this property in this particular transfer order. And again, if there are specials, you can view those, and in this case, this one does have specials, so you'd be able to see what the specials are that are associated with that particular transfer order. So that is a history tab in a nutshell. It's pretty quick and dirty, but there you have it. The next tab we're going to finish up with is the map tab. And this one has quite a bit of functionality associated with it. I'm going to go ahead and reset my map here and start from a fresh field. Across the top, you'll notice a series of tools, and we're going to go through those in just a second. You've got navigational tools over on your left-hand side, a slider bar to zoom in and out, as well as the little pan tool up here in the very upper left-hand corner. You can also click and drag to pan like your typical Google Maps, as well as use your scroll wheel to zoom in and out. We've also provided a zoom tool over here on the left-hand side where if you click that to activate it, you can actually click and drag a box to zoom in to a more close extent. The zoom out tool over there then will appear once you've used the zoom in tool, and when clicking that, it's actually going to take you back to your previous extent. Over on the right-hand side, we've got all of our layers and a results tab, and we're going to go through those in just a second. I'm going to go ahead and actually go through all of these tools at the top first and kind of go through their functionality, and we'll go from there. Zoom in so I can get some properties. The first tool up here in your toolbar across the top is the Identify tool, and this works very similarly to the tool that you use in online mapping to identify on a property. So I'm going to select that. When I click within a property, it's going to highlight and it's going to load the general information over here in the results window. So you're brought back with the tax prop ID, acreage, some very general information about that property. As I continue to click in additional properties, it's going to continue to highlight, and they're going to stack over on the right-hand side. Now, I mentioned earlier that you can transfer information from the Properties tab to the Map tab, and I noted that you could also transfer from the Map tab back to the Properties tab. So in this case, I can view these properties, but if I want to view their detailed information, all I have to do is check these checkboxes to the right of their parcel numbers, hit this load link up in the upper right-hand corner, and it's going to transfer those properties, let me go ahead and close this one, back down here to my Properties tab. Now because I had these already checked, they managed to stay there as well. It saved those for me. But these three at the bottom are actually the ones that transferred from the Map tab. So if you did want to, if you select a property in the Map tab, if you wanted to search it that way, find the property, and then view its information, you can just select it and it'll transfer it back over to the Map tab for you using that load link at the top.